Megan Batista. I am a MSW student at UB, so Master's of Social Work student, and I am a parent to 4 girls. Really, we were like in our 20s and married. We married young, and we like came back home, and we were in our 20s, and we were like, we are just like watching TV, going to work, and we realized that we had just a lot more to offer than we were offering. And so our kind of family motto still is we live life with open hands. And to us, the best thing we could do was really say, our hands are open, so who are the people we can best help with these hands? And so I was a kid raised in Buffalo. I, benefited from the mentorship of people in my life, and I had really strong supportive parents, but I know my life is better because people invested in me. So foster care was obviously appealing because of that, but mentorship first, that's really where it started. So my husband and I had been mentoring teenagers for a really long time, and one of them moved in with us because she was in a really difficult situation with a parent who actually had adopted her. So she had come through the foster care system and been adopted, and then was kicked out of her house, and we were respite providers for her. She was supposed to come to us for a weekend, and she ended up just living with us forever. So she never went home. We became her permanent guardians, and my husband was really opposed to becoming a foster parent because he just didn't want to. And then knowing Charity, our oldest daughter, really changed his mind. She had had a really terrible experience in foster care, and his kind of approach after knowing her was like, we can do better for kids than that. So we became foster parents through Gateway, and we ended up mostly getting pretty little kids. And our daughter, Gianna, came to us when she was 5 weeks old. She came to us and we were like, however long this is, it will be great. And then we got a call like 2 months later, and if you are telling me that this baby is going back, we're so attached and we love her so much already, it's fine, but oh my goodness, this process has been hard. And she was like, no, actually her sister has come into foster care, and we are wondering if you'll take her as an emergency placement. So Janelle was 5 at that time. She had just finished kindergarten, and so we then had at that point she was like a few months old, and Janelle was 5, and she came to live with us, and so we fostered for 5 years, and we loved it. In that process, Gianna and Janelle stayed with us. Their mom signed a surrender agreement, and we adopted them. And we did actually in that process take one more little boy that we helped return to mom, which was like, we kind of felt like we've now done our foster care bingo board. We've done all the things we hoped we would do. We've returned a lot of kids home. We've, parented babies and kids and sibling sets, and now we've returned a kid to mom, which was really why we got into it. We wanted to really help family reunification. So we decided to, at that point, we found out about the private adoption of my 3rd daughter, and she came to us. So when Mia came to us, we had her, and then G was 8 months old. So we had an infant, a baby just born at the hospital, and an 8-month-old. And so we were like, maybe we should take a break now that we have a toddler train of 2 under 3. So my children are the best gift of adoption. They are the best. They're so funny. So my oldest daughter's 25 and out of the house and has 2 babies of her own. But my oldest daughter at home is Janelle, and she's 13, and she is almost 14 and is in high school, and that is hard no matter if the kid is adopted or biological or anything. But she's so strong and smart. Like, she wants to help people so much. She recognizes opportunities she's been given, but she also understands that there are things about her life that make things trickier for her. She's just so wise and self-aware and smart. Like, she is a gift. And then my middle daughter is just the best. She's so smart. She loves animals. She just loves her family so much. Today she told me, I don't think I need any Christmas presents because I'm just so grateful for what I have. And I'm like, I feel like you're trying to butter me up, but I don't know what for what, and I will take it. So she, those are the gifts, right? I also think there's a gift in the connections we've made with my girls' biological family. For the most part, we've gotten to support them and be there for them and still have an enduring relationship with them. I also think the ability to support other foster parents who are walking through it and I get messages from people asking me like, how do you handle situations like this? Like, this is hard, what do I do? And the ability to like be a voice and help to people is good. I think the challenging part is probably also knowing that, you can't control everything. Like when you engage in messy family dynamics, just like if you have like, if you're co-parenting or there's a lot of messy family dynamics, they don't only come from foster care, but because we share love and care for someone with other people, sometimes that can get messy and complicated. I think the time is hard always. My kids never left my house. There was not ever a threat of them leaving my house. They got freed for adoption and they were in my house, but it took like a long time, like 14 months before we finalized their adoption. And it just felt like forever. And it felt so like for no reason. There was no reason it caused anxiety, but it did. But yeah, I think it's hard for me actually to think of it is challenging to raise children. My kids sometimes have an additional layer of challenging because they came to me with trauma that I wasn't there for with them and I didn't walk through, and you don't ever know the whole story. Even when a kid comes to you at 5, you don't know everything. And so that part is tricky, that I just haven't always walked it with them like you would a biological kid. But I think like just parenting is tough, and parenting is good. That's why people do it, even though it means you sleep very rarely. So So I think for people that are pursuing adoption, the thing that I would say first is to be open to the fact that adding a child to your family, the child might not look or be like what you thought it would be like to add children to your family. And so particularly for parents who are open to adopting older youth or bigger groups of kids, or, who are open to like, kids who struggle to be placed, which are a lot of the kids that are freed for adoption in our area. Like, the pathway to adoption means that you have to think a kid on paper may very well be very different once that kid is inside a home, but also may very well not be. And so giving them room to flourish and become a person, because you can't heal from trauma unless you're in a supported, connected environment. And so a lot of these kids are like kind of hanging out in the world with a lot of unresolved things. And so I do usually tell adoptive parents, like, it will get better. Like, it will be really, really wonderful for the first few weeks, and then it will be really hard, and then it will get better because they will learn you and you will learn them and you will figure out what they need. But I think also knowing yourself and knowing your limits and knowing your boundaries is really important. So I actually was thinking on the way here about what I would say, and I would say, like, if you are considering adopting, you should really be in touch with what you need, and be like, get a therapist. Like, I don't know how to say that less directly, but get help for yourself. Make sure you're taking care of yourself, because it is a challenge no matter where you're adopting kids from or how old they will be. Adoption is beautiful and a gift, but adoption is also a loss for every kid that goes through it. Even if they're gaining your family, they're losing normative growing up with the people who you were born to. And that is, if there is a story of what was supposed to be, that story ends when a kid gets adopted. And so you have to understand your own ability to process, even though this is so much joy for you to add someone to your family, there's loss for it too. And you have to carry your kid through both, because they deserve room for all their feelings. And so taking care of yourself, like having people in your life that understand adoption and foster care, so that you have someone to check in with when things go crazy, when like a biological family member you've never met reaches out to you and you're like, how do I navigate this? Or something goes wrong, or a kid, looks for someone on social media that you weren't expecting, and you have all those feelings of worry for them, but also there is a piece that raises up in people that is like insecure or not enough or whatever. Taking care of yourself in that area is really important, so that you can protect your kid. Because at the end of the day, they're coming in with tons of, not tons of, but some trauma. It's traumatic to be separated from your family. And so you need to take care of you so you can give them space to grow and connect and resolve the things that they're coming in with. But Be prepared for a lot of waiting and a lot of paperwork, and for decisions that don't make sense. And for people to say things like, oh, we have to wait on this piece of paper that you've filled out 100 times, and the reason it has expired is because court is taking too long. Invest in your relationship with the person who is facilitating the work. Be grateful for them and treat them kindly, because all of them have big caseloads and lots to do, but they are invested in the best outcomes for your kids. So make space for them, and be open to at least connecting with kids that might have more needs than you think you can handle. Most agencies are willing to facilitate mentorship relationships, connect with kids and see what it really looks like, what an older kid in that's freed for adoption really looks like, and what their needs are and who they are. Because I would say 100% of the time, how a kid is represented and who they are is usually better off paper than it is on paper. It's really scary to read about everything a kid has gone through and think, do I have the capacity to do that? But I think capacity builds through love. And so as you start to love the individual, rather than looking at their profile and thinking, can I do it? You would be amazed at what can happen and what you have capacity for once you love the person and are invested in their outcomes. I think for foster parents that want to adopt, I would say the same thing. Be protective of your own mental health and understand that the risk is worth it. It was heartbreaking for us to return the first kids that we fostered and not know if they were going to be safe and worry about them. We just had a couple situations where it wasn't very neatly resolved, kids transferring out of county or doing things, and it was heartbreaking. But I'm so glad I had those experiences and that I did not adopt those kids, because the kids I adopted were the right kids and they are my kids, And so I would say to anyone who wants to adopt and is planning to become foster parents first, being open to adoption and taking risk placements, not just kids that are available for adoption. Lori Miazga was my home finder, and she said to me, if you want to adopt in this system, you will adopt eventually, but you might not adopt the first kid you want to. You might not adopt the first kid that's placed with you. So I would say trust the process and understand, for every no you get or for every kid that you don't parent, it is a pathway to the parent that you're supposed to be and the kids you're supposed to parent. So trust the process.